Vote 12, Economic Development and Tourism, Western Cape Adjustments Appropriation Bill.
Thank you. I now see the Honourable the Minister, Minister Alan Winde.
Thank you very much, Speaker. Speaker, today we are tabling an adjustments budget as we reach the midterm of a 5-year strategic plan, the plan to grow the Western Cape economy by over 200,000 jobs in the region. When we launched this plan, Project Kulisa, the growth strategy in 2014, the research showed us that in order for us to achieve these goals, we needed to focus on high potential sectors such as tourism, agri-processing and oil and gas. Since we put this strategy in place, we have achieved excellent growth and employment, despite emerging threats brought about by the drought, the political uncertainty at a national level. Just this month, rating agency S&P downgraded South Africa's sovereign rating to junk status. And while our economy is impacted by these events, it is in the Western Cape. Here we have something that is very, very different. Here in the Western Cape, we have a good story. According to our latest figures from Statistics South Africa, jobs have grown by 84,000 in our region in the past year. We have the lowest broad and narrow unemployment rate in the country. This week, Wesgro also released its latest investment report, which showed that the agency secured investments worth 1.89 billion rand in the past 8 months alone. Through their hard work, jobs have been created. These are direct jobs for more than 2,000 residents. Throughout this adjustment, we are aiming to invest, or through this adjustment, we are aiming to invest further boost our priority sectors and support businesses with the tools they need to overcome the current water crisis. Our local agri-entrepreneurs have just returned from a very successful trade promotion trip to China, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in the agricultural budget speech. To further support export promotion and agri-processing, particularly the halal sector, a 3 million rand reallocation to Wesgro is requested. Speaker, while we are providing support to key sectors through Project Kulisa, we also know that we need to get the basics right. We are working to create an enabling environment in which all businesses thrive. Part of this goal is in ensuring that residents and entrepreneurs have access to affordable and reliable internet. Through our 3 billion rand broadband project, more than 200,000 residents across the province have already been connected to our network of public Wi-Fi hotspots. To ensure that residents get the most out of these access points, internet champions were situated in communities and offered digital literacy training to 346,000 residents. With this adjustment budget, an additional 7.2 million is allocated to further expand our broadband initiative. This includes 1.5 million for the Broadband Business Toolkit, which helps businesses to better understand how they can use technology to grow their enterprises, and 900,000 to the ICANN, this is the Interactive Community Access Centre in Elsie's River, as well as to the Khayelitsha Barn. In the past 2 years, 23,442 residents have used the ICANN Centre to gain valuable e-skills and to participate in the digital economy. Through our enterprise development partnership with the Khayelitsha Barn, we have trained just under 3,000 entrepreneurs, equipping them with the tools they need to grow their businesses. Skills development is another critical enabler in our economy, and we must ensure that the needs of business is appropriately trained employees are met. That is why we have reallocated 12.9 million to provide for training in the digital industry, as well as to bolster the Artisan Development Program. A further 1 million will be allocated to technical and vocational education and training, TVET colleges, for the appointment of math teaching assistants. We are also using this allocation to mitigate the impact of the water shortage in our economy. A total of 2.5 million is reallocated to our water resilience project, which assists with Green Cape support of businesses during this water crisis. In the weeks ahead, we will also roll out a provincial-wide water-saving awareness campaign. It is our goal to spread our message for the need to save water, not only in business, but also for those tourists that are arriving in our province shortly. Going forward, we will continue to work with other spheres of government, business, and residents to tackle this crisis. And for this, I really want to take the opportunity to thank those businesses that have gone out of their way to become far more water wise. I think that process started specifically with the tourism businesses and some phenomenal changes made in those businesses and actual investment. Businesses were taking money out of their pocket, putting water-saving devices in place. But that goes across the board with all businesses in our region, and I want to thank them for doing or playing their part in saving water. I also would like to thank Mr. Solly Fourie and his team for their dedication in growing our economy, for creating jobs. Employment is key to a more prosperous life for residents in our province, and that is why it remains our #1 goal. With this adjustment budget, we are sending them the resources to further deliver on these objectives and, of course, further add to our main budget and our strategic plan. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister Windy. I now see the Honourable Member Schaefer.
Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, I take note of the 22 million adjustment to the budget in the Department of Economic Opportunities and Tourism. The current drought, as we know, has had a tight grip over the Western Cape's economy, over and above South Africa's slow economic growth forecast, political uncertainty, state capture, and the junk status of our currency. While one clearly understands the necessity for water for life, we often don't understand the relationship of water to the economy. A new World Bank report finds that water scarcity, exacerbated by climate change, could hinder economic growth, spur migration, and spark conflict. Despite this, we can look at the general picture of our economy in a dismal light, or we can look at the picture with an opportunity lens on. As the Minister has stated, the Western Cape is still adding jobs to the economy and still has the fastest growing economy and the lowest unemployment rate in the country despite these challenges. The latest water resilience report states that water reuse, recycling, and resource recovery will become new opportunities for business. But at the end of the day, we still believe that good governance and sound fiscal management of the department's budget is what really counts. In 2016, a report stated that 94% of companies reported water as a direct risk to their operations, which is the highest in the world. So the reprioritization of budget to provide funds to support Green Cape's focus on water strategies, such as the funding for their smart grids and water-making tool projects, is fully supported. Green Cape was established by this government as a special purpose vehicle to support the development of green economy in the region. They have become recognized globally for their work in the green economy and doing some really great work on the water strategies for the economy. We support the Green Cape's Water Sector Desk, which also serves as a platform for the industry to access relevant information, source assistance in overcoming barriers, and connect with our stakeholders. Speaker, through Project Khaleesi's focus on Western Cape's tourism as a key economic contributor to this province, the budget allocation towards these tourism and investment initiatives has also been highly successful. In 2017 alone, we know that Cape Town Air Access secured direct flights to Cape Town from 11 African, Middle Eastern, and European nations to boost tourism access to this province. We can see direct flights now from Cape Town to Namibia, Botswana, Angola, Ethiopia, Mauritius, the UAE, Turkey, France, Germany, Switzerland, and the Netherlands. In addition to this, Wesgro's successful lobby for visa-free exemption for Angola now eases leisure and business travel between Angola and South Africa. This builds upon a strong economic relationship between the two countries. Already we see the impact with 405,000 rands worth of wine already sold in Angola and 225,000 bed nights being booked in the Western Cape in 2016. Speaker, Wesgro has also assisted Western Cape companies to grow their exports to the rest of the continent, which generate over 535 million over the next 5 years and facilitate 737 million towards outbound foreign direct investment into Africa. We've noted and said, as the Minister has indicated, that it secured 1.89 billion in committed investment, and we really commend them for that. And so the budget to this agency is greatly supported. Speaker, the immense success by the Department of Economic Opportunities and Tourism indicates that not only has the department budget been well spent, it's been strategically spent, maximising on the Western Cape's business attractiveness to bring secure investment deals and inject that much-needed money and jobs into our economy. This truly is a budget well spent. And just recently, the Minister of Trade and Industry, Mr. Rob Davies, published his intention to designate the Atlantis Green Tech Special Economic Zone. This area will focus on those sectors such as clean technologies, electronics, solar, wind energy, and energy-efficient technologies, alternative building materials and technologies to this province, and provide benefits such as a 15% corporate tax, as well as benefits to building allowance tax, which we believe will attract further investment into this province. The 1.8 billion secured investment will also provide the much-needed growth and jobs to an area where a few years ago was riddled with unemployment. Speaker, I must mention the support of the 12 million for skills development, while the need for the 14,000 artisan skills, specifically for the demand projection of the Saldana Industrial Development Zone, as well as those skills training in Java and ICT, is also welcomed. Aside from this, the DA-led Western Cape, in its pursuit to create employment opportunities for each and every resident in our province, must use its budget to further enable rural communities to use resources available to them to make a living. And this includes appealing for the decentralisation of small-scale fishing from national government to enable our provincial departments of economic opportunity to enhance our oceans economy even more. Speaker, at the root of many of the social ills in the Western Cape is always a lack of jobs and opportunity. It is pleasing to see that the Minister in his department has made efficient use of its budget to create an enabling environment for business and investment into the Western Cape and grow those key industries and sectors in our provincial economy to grow the jobs and market the Western Cape as a leading international tourism destination. So, Speaker, finally, I'd like to extend my thanks to Mr. Fourie and Minister Windy and his department for playing a huge role in creating that enabling environment for jobs and growth, and to my committee for the hard work and support to ensuring that we play an effective oversight role, as well as to my committee coordinator Zayda Adams for her hard work and support, the role that she provides to this standing committee. Speaker, we support this adjustments budget.
Thank you, Honourable Schaefer. I now see the Honourable Nkondlo.
Thank you, Speaker. The Department of Economic Development and Tourism aims to contribute to government's economic priorities. The budget priority of creating opportunities and jobs have been undermined by this department as it surrenders 6% from cost of employment, amounting to 7.6 million, the second largest decrease of COE after the Provincial Treasury. This department has a goal to act as a catalyst for the transformation of the economy and to respond to the challenges and opportunities of its citizens, and yet these adjustments present a somewhat interesting picture. Whilst accepted that budget process is not rigid, given some of the unforeseen circumstances and changes that may erupt from the operating environment, thus flexibility to shift monies during the adjusted estimate of expenditure mid-term is allowed as provided for in the PFMA. Caution must be placed, though, that this process not to be abused as cover-up for poor planning, where departments may require money without properly planning for it. The fact that at the second quarter of the financial year, this department already surrenders about 23 million as part of realignment of provincial budgets to Provincial Revenue Fund is a cause for concern. The 15.4 million of broadband undermines service delivery given the commitment of the rollout of this project, which since 2015-16, broadband stream 2 was delayed by 5 months, including the Saldana wireless mesh, resulting into a rollover of the funds. In 2016-17, again, broadband stream 2 saw a rollover of about 11 million rands. Now, in 2017-18, 15.4 is surrendered back to PRF in as far as the broadband is concerned. What is the impact of this to service delivery, Minister? what was this particular promise that during your speech in 2014, when you launched the pilot of the free Wi-Fi projects, you indicated that you would be rolling out to other communities in the near future, hoping to achieve 100% connectivity by December 2015. So where are we today in 2017 as we surrender 15.4 million back to the Provincial Revenue Fund? The question here is that to what extent is this a reflection of planning limitations? Because one would have expected that during the conceptualization of the project, during the implementation of Stream 1, we will be able to know the digital age is here and is here now and has been here for some time and is known for its rapid changes in technology at high speed. Or what is this about? Is it about the DA-led government in this province that does not have foresight, thus plunging service delivery as a trade-off of poor planning and decision-making? Or worse still, is the politics of grandeur to woo votes, and now for the past 3 years, this project rollout is being paralyzed? What is the trade-off, Minister, of this delay and its opportunity cost? Can you tell this House and people of this province? It was in 2013 already a DA member of Parliament, Mr. M. Swartz, in the Standing Committee on Appropriation, cautioned the National Treasury of monitoring departments not to cover under expenditure at the end of year by shifting of funds. He states, and I quote, "When budgets were prepared for departments, the intention was for them to use all of the money on programs, and Treasury ensured there was income to cover the expenditure. So surely you can't plan and ask for funding only to return the money halfway," close quote. Further to shifting funds and its relationship to impede service delivery, one observes the constant vacancies of management posts, especially those funded. The delay in filling of posts in this particular department. Whilst appreciating that slowly there has been filling of some of the senior management positions, and appreciating that in the main those have been filled with females, one would have expected that indeed this department should continue to ensure that the opportunity to fill these vacancies actually bring on board more women in this department at senior management, especially from the African and Indian economically active population, and most importantly, disabled persons. During the annual reporting period, the department could not explain why so few Black Africans were not employed at top and senior management. Some of the excuses were that posts were frozen or blamed recruitment of suitable candidates. Here we can see how they surrender money which could be used in promoting transformation, yet we know they will say next year that they struggle to fill posts. The program with the highest reduction of 14 million, that is 11% of its budget, economic planning, which aims to overcome critical inhibitors to economic growth, capitalize on economic opportunities which arise due to market forces or technological advances, and to stimulate investment into the province. This program has been crippled to make way for broadband funding. This broadband received more money than the water crisis. Economic planning only shifted 2.5 million for the reprioritization of budget to provide funds to implement projects addressing the water crisis within the Western Cape, yet IT and related assets received in excess of 7 million. Tourism destination marketing was cut with 2 million, and this was shifted to tourism sector transformation. On paper, this sounds good, but when looking at the detail, one is shocked to see that it was moved towards the cycle route development project. How did we come to a point where mountain biking and bicycle lanes are classified as tourism sector transformation? But how come was this initiative not budgeted for, given that in 2015-16 already annual report informed of business case developed with industry for cycle tourism? So why this was not part of the budget area? Most concerning is the fact that in this program activities, no significant transformation benefit can be recorded for the Black brand owners under Treasure Chest, beyond the exhibitions which at most do not yield in any real business for these ladies, as they are constrained as mere marketing platforms of the wine producers. The partnership with WOSA is not reflected as how the wine industry charter and its imperatives is being used to realize the absence of real and impactful transformation of the wine industry. Township tourism is still not prioritized against a 16 million spend to tourism marketing. Interesting is the response provided by this department in general on township economy as the general reflection of absence of deliberate program to give focus to the economic development of historically disadvantaged areas to boost their local economies. In the department's view, that is referred to as informal economy, and as such, the department is still pondering at a study sometime in the future to understand this economy. Really, how many years has this DA been governing and responsible for this economy? So they don't see these communities as significant economic focus. We are told that some internal work has been initiated in this regard. Not sure what that is, as that has not been shared. The minister also in the standing committee informed us of a great initiative they have just launched with Pick and Pay to roll out mini retail outlets in townships. One wonders what informed this intervention if a study is still to be commissioned. Let us caution you, Minister, that already this intervention has raised concerns in Guguletu, where one was recently launched, as no public participation was undertaken to give citizens of Guguletu an opportunity to air their views and understand this model. Remember, township retail businesses in the form of spazas have been destroyed by the introduction of shopping malls with big retail brands such as Pick and Pay taking over, using their dominance in the market to take them out of these local markets, which have been their source of income for years. This department is supposed to protect and enhance local economies instead of bringing big commercial entities to take away from small businesses the little market share that they still occupy. We are following the Competition Commission inquiry and recent hearings on uncompetitive behavior in the retail industry. And to date, majority of culprits of collisions, price fixing, abuse of dominance have been found here in the Western Cape. We shall watch the space of this invention by the department to destroy what is left of our township economy to the benefit of the big commercial brands. This says much toward the department's strategic objective on inclusive growth, where it promised to attempt to identify barriers to growing informal economy, and in so doing absorbing labor already in 2015-16. And in 2017, the same department is saying they are still to start an investigation to understand the informal economy. Who is fooling who? Clearly, the bias of this department is not SMMEs, especially black emerging and existing businesses in townships. And as surely as the honorable member has said before, that maybe these are just being accommodated here in this province. Shame, because here in South Africa, I think if entrepreneurs are using the constitutional opportunity of a democratic South Africa, that is freedom of movement, to come to this particular province, it can't be that it is said that they are being accommodated. As the ANC would rather the department prioritize the issues of local economies, especially from townships, to enhance those local markets. In the absence of such, as the ANC, we cannot support this adjustment to this vote.
Thank you. In the absence of the ACDP and the EFF, I now recognize and see the Minister. Minister Wynne.
Thank you very much, Speaker. And first of all, thank you very much to the Standing Committee. To the Chair, thank you for your contribution. I think specifically your points around water, and it is very, very much, of course, front of mind in everyone's space and the way we're thinking at the moment. But it's interesting, I think, it being a crisis, but at the same time, massive, massive opportunity. And I think the massive opportunity is not necessarily there for the big guys, it's actually there for the SMMEs. And it's really good to see how many SMMEs are starting up, putting in grey water systems. People are looking at new systems of low water use, car washes. It really is interesting to see how the economy steps up to the plate when we have these kind of crises. And of course, any entrepreneur knows that a crisis is the best place to find opportunity. And so definitely the water is creating those opportunities, and we need to see how we promote and push and enable those businesses to do what they need to do, because obviously over time climate change is going to make this region more and more water dependent and have more and more scarcity with regard to water, but of course we can then play a much more leading role as climate change affects not only us but in other economies, and we can then play a reverse role where we step in. I think the same applies to your mentioning the green economy and specifically the role that Green Cape plays. They are holding regular sessions with businesses to find ways to use less water in their production, but also enabling those businesses, as I've just said, about where the opportunities lie. They are also working at the moment on trying to find and for want of a better word, a standard, whether it be, we've already got blue drops and green drops for measuring water, but we need a best practice standard on how much water you use within your business sector. So, for example, Minister Norma French can tell you how many litres of water per bed in our hospitals. We need to work out whether that is close to best practice. If not, what are we going to do to get to best practice, and how do we make sure that we actually start to play a role in determining what best practice is in the economy, whether it's a bed night in a hospital or in a B&B, or whether it's how much water is used to produce whatever that commodity or that item is that you're selling, or that service that you are producing. I think also, acknowledging some of the amazing work that's being done. Specifically, you highlighted airlift. It really is one of those projects that, some of them you sometimes make mistakes and you have to change your mind, but sometimes you come across projects like this that really outperform anything that you've, or even your wildest dreams, and I think that's what the airlift project is doing at the moment. It is really sitting at more than 800,000 new seats directly into our region, probably sitting at 3.5 to 4 billion rands worth of extra new opportunity, and you can see how the industry is reacting to it, because you can see investment in a very, very difficult climate, but you can see massive investment specifically in the tourism sector. And I want to thank all the role players there, especially the airport. And we've got an airport that at the moment during our water crisis, airlines are busy flying to Cape Town at the moment and not uplifting water at our airport. They're actually dropping off excess water and we're storing it here. So the airport even playing a role in that regard. So then I think moving on to the Honourable Nkondlo, you've raised a whole lot of questions. I'll deal with a couple of them. I think first of all, your issue around the COE money, and you talk about posts unfilled. I presume you are aware that there's a position that says, in order to save because of this economic space that we find ourselves, Treasury and the Minister of Finance has said, please do not fill those positions and surrender that money back. So it is a principle that we've all agreed to. It is not as if we are not filling those positions. So we've agreed to that in a way of actually trying to save extra money in this region. And of course, these are things that we do, small little things that we do, at the same time trying to counter the hundreds of billions of rands that are just looted and stolen at a national level. You spoke about the 15.4 million rand, and of course, this is to do with the Wi-Fi project. And you asked about the number of Wi-Fi hotspots, and of course, if you remember, when we first launched this program, we were looking just over 400 Wi-Fi hotspots, and you've also heard in the standing committee, you heard it, and I'll tell you again that, of course, and you said it, you said in an industry of rapid changes, and of course, that is exactly what happens. You have to continually change specifically in issues around the fourth industrial revolution, and specifically Wi-Fi enabling. So you will know that those 400-odd Wi-Fi hotspots are moving to the thousands now as we are using the rapid changes, as you say, and the renegotiations. And you also know that, of course, that is now, instead of having it separated into 3 streams and in 3 different spaces, one in the Premier's office, one in Treasury, and one in Economic Development, that they will be centred into one space, because that's where those negotiations of this rapidly changing environment take place, and therefore that makes sense. But as you hear, that we are still involved on the front end of that. But perhaps you speak about those, if you have a look at the rolled out Wi-Fi hotspots, and if you were interested, you would see what kind of impact it's having. So I quickly had a look, if you have a look at a place like Saron, a small little place in a rural area, their last usage was 126.6 gigs. That's a fair amount of information that is now being utilized through one of these hotspots. If you look at Duiselsdorp, 129.9 gigs. If you look at Bontehevel Secondary Primary, 135 gigabytes. If you go to the De Doorns Clinic, the clinic in De Doorns is using 148.5 gigs at the moment. If we have a look at how many users are on the Wi-Fi,
Order, please.
if you have a look at how many users on the Wi-Fi hotspot system right now as you speak, there is 219,484 users on this Wi-Fi hotspot system. You asked the question, there's what's happening with regard to this. If you want to have a look at this is also a very interesting point, and that is around pricing, and we know that data costs.
Order, please. Minister Wendy, kindly take your seat. Honourable Nkondlo, you have had an opportunity to speak. Interjections, but not an ongoing commentary. Thank you. You may proceed, Minister Wendy.
Thank you, Speaker. The honourable member asked the question, but she doesn't like the answer. Then, of course, if we have a look at, and the thing was around pricing on the back of these hotspot rollouts. And as these hotspots are rolled out, users get a certain amount of free Wi-Fi data. But of course, if we look at the cost of the data, if you buy beyond that, and we've spoken about that many times, and we will renegotiate those prices as part of renegotiation. So you'll know that 45 Rand for 5 gigs is what the price is at the moment. And I'm pretty certain that over the next year, you're probably even going to see that coming down. But at the moment, if you look at our usage, where we went in June, 779 gigs free, but 5,753 gigs purchased after you've used your free Wi-Fi. That was the July numbers, the June numbers. In July, it went up from 797 to 889 in free, and 6,025 gigs in purchased. So you can see that what you're doing is creating that enabling environment. And remember that these hotspots are out in poor communities, in communities that don't necessarily have regular access because the big companies are not putting in Wi-Fi into those spaces. Then what I want to do is speak to the honourable member's point around informal and formal. And perhaps this is where she almost intimates that if you are in a poorer area, a township area, that is an informal economy. Now, that is totally incorrect, because there are formal businesses and informal businesses. An informal business...
Order, please. Honourable Chacham.
An informal business...
No, you need to raise... Minister Wendy, kindly take your seat. Honourable Chacham, the recourse is, if you wish to agree or answer a question or disagree, pose it to the chair and say, will the minister take a question? But you can't just say, no, it is not like that, and start to engage the minister. But it doesn't work like that. So can I please call you to order? Minister Wendy, you may proceed. Thank you.
So, of course, the informal economy is an economy where businesses do not register. They are not registered. They do not necessarily want to be in the formal economy. And, of course, that is the discussion that we have to have. And personally, I feel that we should actually lift that bar. In other words, to increase the informal economy, because the informal economy is easier and cheaper to go to business. As soon as you restrict and register, you put costs in place, like taxation and registration. The second thing is, and I absolutely agree with her, that when you move into a business area with a formal shopping center, you kill the SMMEs in that region. And I absolutely agree with her. But where I cannot understand where she comes from in saying that when the department gets involved in helping an entrepreneur, specifically in a poorer community, to take that person's business to a very different level, that there needs to be public participation, that I don't get. So if a spaza shop owner decides to become a major retailer, he needs to have public participation. I'm sorry, that doesn't work. This is a free market system that we have. And if we take the intervention that she was speaking about...
Members, I have a duty. Okay, have you now decided that where you're at, honourable members? Honourable Chacham, take this conversation outside of the chamber, please. I'm certain there's a lot you can engage on. I'm not pointing any fingers. Let's just all engage. You're going to have a lunch break. While you have your meal, talk to each other. Minister Windy, you may proceed.
So let me continue on this vein where we talk about entrepreneurs who sit in a space, and the retailers that the honourable member was speaking about. These are the retailers in Gugulethu and Khayelitsha. These aren't retailers that the provincial government or officials in the Department of Economic Development go and choose. These are retailers that build partnerships with other businesses. And we were requested to come along and see if we can help. So, for example, when you go to the business that the honourable member is speaking about, here you've got an existing retailer, a spaza shop owner. And this person gets approached by Pick n Pay. And Pick n Pay say, we don't want to come and open a Pick n Pay next door to your shop, because we know that if we do that, it damages small businesses. Exactly the point that she made. We don't want to do that. But are you interested in building a partnership? Are you interested in using our distribution system and our distribution center and our buying power? Are you interested in becoming a franchisee and a partner with us? If you are, what we will do is we will invest into your business. We will help you rebuild and structure your business. We will help you with signage. We will help you with point-of-sale electronics. We will help you with storage, design, and systems within your business. What's more, we will help you with training your staff. And what's more, once we do that, we will hold your hand as you take your business from 100 or 200,000 rand a day or a month or a week business to a 1, 2, and 3 million rand a week, a month business. And that's exactly what is happening. It is a whole new design of a system so that you do not put the big business in to kill the small businesses. It is how the small businesses actually find ways to become bigger businesses. And those businesses, and if you notice, those businesses' names, they remain the same name that business was before the partnership started. It is not as if Pick n Pay has taken over and rebranded their own shop. That spaza shop remains the ownership, but what happens is suddenly that entrepreneur has built a partnership that allows them to employ more people, deliver a better product, a better service, and that's what the economy is about. That's how you build businesses. That's how you actually empower and grow within spaces. And this is not informal, this is formal. This is registered. This business pays tax and employs people. But, and I've continually heard the ongoing questioning from the honourable member, but then she must ask the questions or engage in the standing committee or even come out on site when we invite them to come and have a look at what happens on the ground. And with that, I thank all of the participants. I also want to thank, and I have thanked the department, I also want to thank my office, the ministry, for the support that they give me in enabling me to do this job. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Minister Windy. Honourable members, that concludes the debate on this vote.